Some Pokemon have terrible level up movesets. In Generation 1 and 2 that's to be expected, but some Pokemon continue to have really bad level up moves well into the later generations. In this video I'm going to be discussing the worst level up movesets in all of Pokemon, mainly focusing on Generation 3 onwards, because otherwise this list would be 99% Gen 1. The first Pokemon I want to talk about is Houndoom. This guy's been around since 1999 and he's always had awful level up moves. Gen 2 and 3 are surprisingly some of Houndoom's best years, since he'll get a special bite at either level 20, 25 or 27. Houndoom has a higher special attack than physical, so it's one of the few Pokemon who is actually better before the physical special split. You won't get Flamethrower or Crunch until around level 40 to 60, but by Gen 2 and 3 standards, just learning those moves in the first place is a blessing. Also, Houndour has always learned Ember at level 1, so for most of the game you'll at least have one Fire and one Dark type attack. The problem starts in Gen 4, when all Dark moves that existed in Gen 3 became physical, including Bite, Feint Attack and Crunch, meaning aside from 40 base power Ember and 20 base power Smog, the only other special attack that Houndoom learns by level up is Flamethrower, all the way up at level 48. It gets Fire Fang at 32 and Thunder Fang with a heart scale, but relying on just physical attacks for a huge portion of the game isn't ideal. Also, even with depending on physical moves, you won't get Crunch until 54. In Gen 5, Flamethrower got pushed back to level 50, and then Houndoom's moveset pretty much stayed the same until Gen 9, where both Houndour and Houndoom learned Incinerate at level 20. I really don't know why Game Freak was so against Houndoom learning special attacks at low levels. When Gen 5 came out, we got new moves like Flame Burst and Snarl that would have been perfect for Houndoom. What makes this worse is that literally not one single Pokemon can learn Snarl by level up in Gen 5. Houndoom is literally a Dark type, special attacking evil dog with no special Dark moves. It would have made so much sense for him to learn Snarl. To be fair, Houndoom isn't in any Gen 5 game, but Snarl would have been pretty good to have in Gen 6, where you can get Houndoom before the second gym, but you're stuck using Fire Fang and Bite until you get TMs for Flamethrower and Fire Blast, just before the 7th gym. Speaking of Gen 6, the next Pokemon I want to look at are Flabebe and Floette. When you catch a Flabebe, it's going to have Tackle, Vine Whip and Fairy Wind, which isn't bad for level 6. Then at 15 you get Razor Leaf, which isn't a huge upgrade since your physical attack is so low, but once you evolve, Magical Leaf at 25 can make up for that. And that's kind of everything. Floette doesn't get any other attacking moves until another physical grass move at 33, and then Moonblast at 46. Floette's way too weak to keep around until then, and you get a Shiny Stone just after the 3rd gym in Kalos. So from then onwards, your fully evolved Florges will be stuck using Fairy Wind and Magical Leaf, since Pokemon who evolve with a stone generally don't get any moves by level up after evolving. I actually like that mechanic since it forces you to choose between evolving sooner for higher stats, or holding on to learn more moves. But it doesn't really work when you get 0 good moves between level 25 and 46. If Floette just learned Dazzling Gleam at level 27 and maybe Giga Drain at 32, Florges could have been so much better. But unfortunately, this is another situation where a new move is introduced and the only way for any Pokemon to learn it is through a TM. Keeping on the theme of fairy types, I want to talk about Togepi and Togetic. In Gen 2, the first damaging move that Togepi learns is Double Edge at 38. In Gen 3, this got pushed back to 41 and it learned Ancient Power at 21. In Gen 4, Ancient Power immediately got pushed back to 33 and Togepi's level up moveset stayed like that all the way up until Generation 8, when Ancient Power was brought down to level 16. I know Togepi is supposed to be a baby and be kind of useless, but having Metronome be your only way to do damage until you're level 33 is crazy. Thankfully in Heart Gold and Soul Silver it has the Egg move Extrasensory, but that's 1 or 2 games out of like 10. I think Togepi getting Peck as a level 1 move would have been perfect, since it would have had to peck its way out of the egg, and it hints to its future flying typing. Even just moves like Pound or Horn Attack, and in later generations Disarming Voice, would help this thing to not be so useless until you get some good TMs. The only good thing that comes out of Togepi getting no attacks is that in the Gen 4 games you'll probably be teaching this tiny baby the Fire Blast TM. The last Pokemon I want to look at are Sandshrew, Phanpy and Gligar, who have all spent several generations learning no good ground moves. Sandshrew didn't learn a single ground move by level up until Gen 3, when it got Sand Tomb at the insane level of 45. Sand Tomb really isn't an attack you want to be using past like level 15. In Gen 4, this was brought down to level 27, which is sadly 5 levels after he would evolve into Sandslash, who doesn't learn it till 33. Black and White 2 finally gave the Sandshrew line something good, with them getting Magnitude at 17, Dig at 30, and Earthquake at 46. It may have taken 16 years, but at least they finally got something. Phanpy has a similar story, if not slightly worse. Donphan has always learned Earthquake, and even if you have to wait until level 49, it's better than just normal moves. Phanpy, however, didn't get any ground moves at all until Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, where it finally got Bulldoze at level 15. Donphan, but not Phanpy, learned Magnitude at level 19 for 2.5 generations, which would mean after evolving your Phanpy at level 25, you would then need to use a Heart Scale to learn your first ground move. Thankfully this was moved to level 30 in the Gen 3 remakes, so you'll get it shortly after you evolve. It would have been better if Phanpy got this at like level 16, but Phanpy's gonna have to take what it can get. That just leaves us with Gligar, who didn't learn any ground moves until Generation 8, where it finally got a 20 base power Mud Slap at level 19, and then Earthquake at 45, and then both of these attacks immediately got taken away in Gen 9, being replaced with Poison Tail and Crab Hammer for some reason. It's bad enough that it took more than 20 years to give Gligar a ground type attack, but then to take it away in the very next games is hilariously cruel. Thankfully, he at least gets Acrobatics at level 22. Between Mud Slap, Magnitude, Bulldoze, Dig, Mudshot and Mud Bomb, there's no reason why these ground type Pokemon shouldn't be learning ground type attacks the same way that electric types would learn Thundershock, Spark and Shockwave. This video might be over, but there are so many more bad movesets to talk about. If you want to see a part 2, leave a comment to let me know. And while you're down there, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and hopefully, I'll see you next time.